He left home a poor young man with a promise on his lips. He would go abroad, make something of himself, and come back to marry the woman he loved. Years later, he kept that promise. He returned home a billionaire, with a ring in his pocket and her name in his heart. But when he finally found her, his world came crashing down, because the woman he had come home to marry was standing under the hot sun at a busy motor park, thin and tired, selling small bags of sachet water to survive. What terrible thing had happened to her family while he was away? Who was responsible for pushing them so low? And what would he do now that he had finally found her again? Stay with us as this long and emotional story slowly unfolds, from the very beginning to the very end. Dear lovely viewers, if you enjoy the stories we share on this channel, please support us by subscribing and turning on the notification bell so you never miss any of our stories. Now, sit back, relax, and let us begin. It was a hot and busy afternoon at one of the largest motor parks in the city of Enugu. Buses came and went. Drivers shouted the names of towns. Passengers hurried with their bags. Traders moved through the crowd, selling snacks, drinks, and small goods to travelers. Into this busy place, a convoy of expensive cars slowly made its way. People turned to look. Cars like these did not often pass through a rough and crowded motor park. In the middle car, seated in the back, was a young man in a fine suit. His name was Somto. After many long years abroad, Somto had finally come back home. And he had come back as a very wealthy man. His name was now known in big business circles across 2 continents. He owned companies. He owned property. He had more money than he had ever dreamed of as a poor young boy. But money was not the reason his heart was beating so fast that afternoon. He had come home for something far more precious than money. He had come home for love. As the convoy slowed down in the heavy motor park traffic, Somto looked out of his window at the crowd. So many faces, so many struggling people, hustling under the sun to make a living. It reminded him of where he himself had come from. Then, through the crowd, a young woman appeared, moving from car to car. She carried a wide tray on her head, filled with small, transparent bags of sachet water. Her clothes were faded. Her face was thin and tired. But there was something in the way she moved, something dignified, even in her suffering. "Pure water," she called out in a tired voice. "Buy your cold, pure water." She came closer to Somto's car. She tapped gently on the window, hoping to make a small sale. Somto lowered the glass to buy some water, more out of kindness than thirst. But as the young woman bent down to hand him the sachet, their eyes met, and time seemed to stop. Somto stared at her face. His heart pounded. It could not be. It was impossible. But those eyes, that face, even thin and tired as it was, he knew her. He would know her anywhere. "Neka," he whispered. The young woman froze. The tray almost slipped from her head. She stared at the wealthy man in the fine car, and slowly, painfully, recognition filled her eyes. Recognition, and then a deep, burning shame. "Somto," she breathed. For a long moment, neither of them could speak. The noise of the motor park faded into nothing. There was only the 2 of them, staring at each other across years of distance, silence, and suffering. But before we understand the pain of this moment, we must go back. We must go back to the very beginning, to a time when these 2 young people were full of hope, and life had not yet shown them its cruel side. Many years before that day, Somto was not a wealthy man at all. He was a poor orphan. He had lost both of his parents when he was young, and he had grown up with very little. He struggled through school on charity and hard work. He had no money and no connections, but he had a brilliant mind and a determined spirit. The person who first saw the greatness in Somto was a kind and successful man named Mr. Okwosa. Mr. Okwosa was a well-known building contractor in Enugu. He was respected, comfortable, and generous. One day, he noticed the poor but hard-working young Somto, and he decided to give him a chance. He gave Somto a small job. He mentored him. He treated him almost like a son. And when Somto's brilliance became clear, it was Mr. Okwosa who encouraged him to aim high and helped him with the reference and support he needed to chase a scholarship abroad. "My boy," Mr. Okwosa often told him, "a sharp mind like yours should not waste away in poverty. Work hard, be honest, and God will lift you up. And when you rise, never forget to lift others too. Somto never forgot those words. And he never forgot the man who had believed in him when no one else did. But there was another reason Somto's heart was tied to the Okwosa family. That reason was Nneka. Nneka was Mr. Okwosa's daughter. She was a kind, gentle, and intelligent young woman. She was a university student, full of dreams for her own future. From the moment Somto and Nneka met, something grew between them. It started as friendship. It grew into deep love. Somto and Nneka understood each other. They laughed together. They dreamed together. And even though Somto was poor and Nneka came from a comfortable home, her love for him never wavered. She did not care about his empty pockets. She cared about his heart. Many evenings, they would sit together and talk about their future. One day, Somto often said, "I will become somebody great, Nneka. And when I do, I will come to your father and ask for your hand properly. I will give you a life you deserve." Nneka would smile. "I already have everything I need when I am with you," she would reply. "But I know you will do great things, Somto. I believe in you. Just promise me one thing. Promise me that no matter how high you rise, you will not forget me." "Forget you?" Somto would laugh softly. "Nneka, you are the reason I want to rise at all. I could never forget you." Their love was young, but it was true. Then the day came that would change everything. Somto's hard work paid off. He won a scholarship to study abroad. It was a rare and golden opportunity, the kind that could lift a poor man's whole life. The night before he traveled, Somto went to see the Okwosa family. Mr. Okwosa was proud of him, like a father seeing his son take flight. "Go, my boy," the old man said warmly. "Go and become the great man I know you can be. We will be here waiting for you." Then Somto turned to Nneka, and the two of them stepped outside to speak privately. Somto took her hands. "Nneka," he said, "I am going far away, and I do not know how long it will take. But I make you this promise today. I will work hard, I will succeed, and I will come back for you. When I return, I will marry you. Will you wait for me?" Tears filled Nneka's eyes. "I will wait for you, Somto," she said. "For as long as it takes. My heart belongs to you, and it always will." Somto did not yet have the money for an expensive ring, so he took a simple thread and tied it gently around her finger, like a promise. "This is all I can give you now," he said, "but one day I will replace it with a ring worthy of you. This thread is my promise. Keep it until I return." Nneka held her finger close to her heart. "I will treasure it more than gold," she whispered. The next day, Somto traveled abroad, carrying the love of Nneka and the blessing of her father with him. He did not know that he was leaving at the last moment their family would ever be whole and happy. In the first months after Somto traveled, he and Nneka stayed in close contact. They spoke often. They shared their lives across the distance. Somto told her about his studies and his struggles in a cold and foreign land. Nneka told him about home, about her father, and about how much she missed him. Life abroad was very hard for Somto. He studied during the day and worked long hours at night to support himself. He was often tired, cold, and lonely. But the thought of Nneka and the promise he had made gave him the strength to keep going. For a while, their love survived the distance. But then, two terrible things happened at almost the same time, and together they tore Somto and Nneka apart. The first blow struck Somto. One evening, on his way back from work, Somto was robbed. The thieves took his bag and his phone. In that phone were all of his contacts, all of Nneka's numbers. Every way he had of reaching her. In a single moment, it was all gone. Somto was distressed, but he was not too worried at first. He thought he would simply write a letter home or send a message through a friend and get in touch with the Okwosa family again. After all, he knew exactly where they lived. But that was where the second blow came in, because at the very same time that Somto lost his contacts, the Okwosa family back home was being destroyed. While Somto was away, a great tragedy had begun to unfold in Nneka's family, and at the center of it was a wicked and greedy man named Mr. Dozy. Mr. Dozy was Mr. Okwosa's business partner. For years, he had smiled in the old man's face and pretended to be loyal. Mr. Okwosa trusted him completely, like a brother. But behind that friendly smile, Mr. Dozy was a snake, waiting for the right moment to strike. Over time, Mr. Dozy carried out a wicked plan. Using his position of trust, he secretly forged documents. He took huge loans in the company's name. He siphoned money out of the business into his own hidden accounts. And he arranged everything so that when the truth came out, all the debt and all the blame would fall on Mr. Okwosa alone. When the trap finally sprang, it was devastating. Suddenly, the company was buried in massive debts that Mr. Okwosa never knew existed. Creditors came knocking, banks demanded their money, and Mr. Dozy, who had caused it all, quietly slipped away with the stolen wealth, leaving his trusting partner to drown. Mr. Okwosa fought desperately to save his business and his name, but it was no use. The debts were too large. One by one, his assets were seized. His company collapsed. And finally, the family home itself was taken to pay the creditors. The comfortable, respected family was thrown into sudden poverty. The shame and the shock were too much for Mr. Okwosa to bear. The betrayal by a man he had trusted like a brother broke something deep inside him. His health began to fail, and not long after losing everything, the kind old man who had once lifted a poor orphan out of poverty fell gravely ill and passed away. Neka's world shattered. In a short space of time, she had lost her father, her home, and the comfortable life she had always known. And now, as the eldest child, the weight of the whole family fell onto her young shoulders. She had a grieving, sickly mother to care for, and a younger brother named Cain, who was still in school. The family had to leave their old neighborhood. With nowhere else to go, they moved into a small, run-down room in a poor part of the city, far from where they had once lived. And this is why, when Somto finally managed to send word home, trying to reconnect, everything failed. The letters he sent to the old address found strangers living there. The family was gone, scattered by misfortune, with no forwarding address. When Somto later asked a friend to check on the Okwosa family, the friend returned with only bad news. The great Mr. Okwosa had died in disgrace. His business had collapsed, and his family had vanished into poverty. No one knew exactly where. Somto was heartbroken and confused. He had lost all contact. The family that had lifted him up had been destroyed, and the woman he loved had disappeared without a trace. He searched in every way he could from far away, but the distance and the years made it almost impossible. Slowly, painfully, he was forced to accept that he had lost them. But he never stopped loving Neka, and he never stopped feeling the debt of gratitude he owed to her father. Meanwhile, back home, Neka faced a brutal new reality. With her father gone and the family in deep poverty, Neka had to make a terrible sacrifice. She dropped out of the university she loved. Her own dreams and education had to be put aside, because if she did not work, her mother and her little brother would not eat. Neka looked for any honest way to survive, and in the end, she took up one of the hardest and humblest jobs there is. She began selling sachet water, the small bags of pure water, at the busy motor park. Every single day, Neka would carry a heavy tray of water bags on her head. She walked for hours under the burning sun, moving from bus to bus, from car to car, calling out, "Buy your cold, pure water." She endured the heat, the dust, the noise, and the exhaustion. Some days she made a little money. Some days she made almost nothing. But she never gave up. The motor park was not a gentle place. Neka faced many hardships there. Sometimes the transport touts harassed the young traders and demanded money from their small earnings. Sometimes rude passengers treated her with contempt. One day, a wealthy-looking passenger bought water from her, then complained that it was not cold enough. When Neka politely apologized, the man threw the water bag back at her, splashing her clothes, and cursed at her in front of everyone. "Stupid pure water girl," he snapped. "People like you are a nuisance." Neka bent down quietly, picked up the wet bag, and wiped her face. She said nothing, but inside, her heart ached. She had once been a respected contractor's daughter, a university student with a bright future. Now she was insulted by strangers for selling water in the dust. Yet she swallowed her pride, because pride could not feed her mother and her brother. Through all of this suffering, Neka never lost her good and gentle heart. Whenever a fellow trader was in trouble, she helped if she could. There was an old woman who sold groundnuts nearby, and on days when the old woman had not sold enough to eat, Necker would quietly share her own small food with her. Her father had raised her to be kind, and not even poverty could take that kindness away. There was one particular day that tested Necker to her very limit. It had rained heavily in the morning, and few travelers wanted to buy water in the cool, wet weather. By afternoon, Necker had sold almost nothing. Her feet ached from walking. Her back hurt from the heavy tray, and she knew that if she did not sell enough, there would be no money for food or for her mother's medicine that evening. As the sun finally came out, harsh and hot, she pushed herself to keep going, moving from bus to bus, calling out in a tired voice. A group of touts passed by and demanded a share of her small earnings, as they often did. She pleaded with them, showing them her nearly empty purse, and after mocking her, they finally left her alone. By the time evening came, Necker had made only a little. She bought the cheapest food she could find and hurried home, exhausted, her clothes stained with dust and sweat. That was the life she lived, day after day, without complaint. At home, things were just as hard. Their small room was cramped and old, and it leaked whenever it rained. Necker's mother, once a strong and cheerful woman, had grown weak and quiet, her health broken by grief and hardship. There was rarely enough money for the medicine she needed. Little Kearney, who had once dreamed of becoming a doctor, now often stayed home from school because there was no money for his fees. It broke Necker's heart to see her bright young brother idle, his future slipping away. Some evenings, when Necker came home with too little food, she would quietly serve her mother and brother, then tell them she was not hungry and had eaten at the park. Then she would go to a corner and sleep on an empty stomach, so the two people she loved most would not go without. But even in her darkest moments, one small thing gave Necker strength. On a thread around her neck, she still kept the simple thread ring that Somto had tied on her finger years ago, before he traveled. She had kept it all this time, even when she believed he was gone forever. Even when the distance and the silence made her heart ache, she could not bring herself to throw away that little symbol of a promise made long ago. Sometimes, late at night, she would hold it and wonder where Somto was, and whether he ever thought of her at all. She had no way of knowing that, far across the world, Somto had never stopped thinking of her. While Necker was struggling to survive at home, Somto's life abroad had taken a very different path. After years of relentless hard work, everything began to change for him. He finished his studies. He got a good job. And in time, using his brilliant mind, he started his own business. At first, it was small, but Somto was wise, hardworking, and honest, and slowly the business began to grow. Then it grew faster. Then it grew into something truly great. In time, Somto became a wealthy and respected businessman. He built the kind of life he had once only dreamed of as a poor orphan. He had achieved everything he had traveled so far to achieve, but there was a deep emptiness inside him that no amount of success could fill. Because the people he had wanted to share it all with were gone. The mentor who had believed in him had died, and the woman he had promised to marry had vanished, and he did not even know if she was alive or well. Through all the years, Somto never married. He threw himself into his work, but late at night, in his big and quiet house, his heart always returned home. He remembered Mr. Okwosa's kindness. He remembered Necker's gentle smile. He remembered the thread he had tied around her finger and the promise he had made. And the more successful he became, the more one thought weighed on his heart. He owed everything to the Okwosa family. Mr. Okwosa had lifted him out of poverty when he was nothing, and Somto had promised to come back, to marry Necker, and to repay that family 1,000 times over. He had made a promise, and he was a man of his word. So at last, Somto made his decision. He would go home. He would find the Okwosa family, no matter what it took. He would learn the truth of what had happened. He would honor his mentor's memory. And if Necker was still there, still free, he would keep his promise and make her his wife. He put his affairs in order. He bought a fine ring, a real one this time, worthy of the woman he had loved for so long. And he traveled home to Enugu, a wealthy man, searching for answers and for the love he had lost. And that dear viewers, is how he came to be riding through that busy motor park on a hot afternoon, and how, through the crowd, he came face to face with a thin, tired young woman selling sachet water, the very woman he had crossed the world to find. Back at the motor park, Somto and Neka stared at each other, frozen in shock. Years of distance and silence stood between them, and yet in that moment, it was as if no time had passed at all. "Neka," Somto said again, his voice trembling. He quickly opened his car door and stepped out, right there in the middle of the busy park. But Neka took a step back. The shame of being seen like this, thin and ragged and selling water in the dust by the man she had once loved, was more than she could bear. Her eyes filled with tears. "No," she whispered, shaking her head. "Please, do not look at me. Not like this." She turned and tried to hurry away, the heavy tray still balanced on her head. But in her rush, weak from hunger and heat, she stumbled. The tray tipped, and the bags of water scattered across the ground. Neka swayed and began to fall. "Neka!" Somto shouted. He rushed forward and caught her just before she hit the ground. She had fainted in his arms, overcome by shock, exhaustion, and shame. "Please, someone help me," Somto called to his men. "Quickly, get her into the car. We are taking her to the hospital at once." The whole motor park watched in amazement as the wealthy man gently lifted the pure water girl into his fine car and sped away. At the hospital, Somto made sure Neka received the very best care. He paid for everything without a second thought. Then he waited anxiously until the doctor came out to speak with him. "How is she, doctor?" Somto asked. The doctor's face was gentle but serious. "She is stable now," he said. "But she is exhausted and undernourished. This young woman has been overworking herself and not eating enough for a long time. Her body has been pushed to its limit. She needs rest, good food, and proper care. With that, she will recover well. But she has clearly been suffering greatly." Every word cut into Somto's heart. This was Neka, the daughter of the man who had saved his life, the woman he had promised to marry. And she had been suffering like this while he built his fortune far away. "Thank you, doctor," he said quietly. "Please, give her the very best. Whatever she needs, spare nothing." For the next 2 days, Somto stayed close by as Neka rested and slowly regained her strength. He arranged a comfortable private room and made sure she had good food and everything she needed. And quietly, he sent his people to find out where her family now lived. When they returned with the news of her small, poor room and of her sick mother and young brother, Somto's heart broke all over again. He immediately made sure that food, money, and medicine were sent to Neka's mother and brother, and that they were told Neka was safe and being well cared for. On the second day, Neka finally woke up fully. She opened her eyes to find herself in a clean, comfortable hospital room, and Somto sitting quietly beside her, watching over her with worried eyes. For a moment, she thought she was dreaming. Then the memories rushed back, and with them, the shame. "You should not have brought me here," she said softly, turning her face away. "Why would you waste all this on a pure water seller? Just let me go back to my life, Somto. This is who I am now." "Neka, please look at me," Somto said gently. Slowly, she turned her face back to him. "I did not find a pure water seller at that motor park," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "I found Neka, the daughter of the greatest man I ever knew, the woman I promised to marry, the woman I crossed the whole world to come back for. Neka, what happened? Please, tell me everything. I searched for you and your family for years. Then I was told your father had died and you had all disappeared. What happened to my mentor? What happened to you?" At the mention of her father, tears streamed down Neka's face, and slowly, painfully, she told Somto everything. She told him about Mr. Dozy, the wicked partner who had betrayed her father. She told him about the forged documents, the secret debts, and how Dozy had stolen everything and vanished. She told him how the creditors had seized their home and business. She told him how the shame and the betrayal had broken her father's health, and how he had died in sorrow, robbed of everything he had built. She told him about the poverty that followed, how she had to drop out of university, how she took up selling sachet water to feed her mother and her little brother, how she endured the heat, the insults, and the exhaustion day after day, just to survive. As Somto listened, his sorrow slowly turned into a burning, righteous anger. The kind old man who had lifted him out of poverty had been destroyed by a wicked, greedy partner, and the woman he loved had been left to suffer years of hardship as a result. But Somto, Neka said through her tears, looking at him with confusion and old pain, "Why did you disappear? For all these years, we heard nothing from you. When my father was suffering, when we were losing everything, I kept hoping you would somehow come. But you never did. I thought you had forgotten us. I thought you had forgotten me." Somto lowered his head in shame and sorrow. "I never forgot you, Neka," he said. "Not for a single day. Let me tell you what happened to me too." And he told her his side of the story. He told her how he had been robbed abroad and lost his phone and all his contacts. He told her how, at the very same time, her family had lost everything and moved away, so that all his efforts to reach the old home led nowhere. He told her how he had sent a friend to check, only to receive the crushing news that her father had died and the family had vanished into poverty. "I searched, Neka," he said. "I searched for years, in every way I could from so far away. But the distance defeated me. I believed I had lost you and your family forever. And yet, even then, I could not stop loving you. I never married. And the moment I was able, I came home to find you and to keep the promise I made to you and to your father. I came home to make you my wife." Neka wept, but now her tears carried relief mixed with the pain. All those years, she had believed she was forgotten. And all those years, Somto had been searching and loving and grieving too. They had both been victims of cruel circumstance and of one wicked man's greed. Somto took her hand gently. "Listen to me, Neka," he said. "Your suffering ends today. Do you hear me? You will never carry a tray of water under the sun again. Your mother will get the best care. Kaine will go back to school. And as for Mr. Dozy, the man who destroyed your father, I promise you, he will not go unpunished. I will make sure of it." Neka looked at him, hardly daring to believe that her long nightmare might finally be ending. Once Neka was discharged, Somto did not take her back to the small, leaking room. He arranged a safe and comfortable home for her, her mother and her brother. For the first time in years, the family slept in comfort and ate good food without fear. Neka's mother, who had grown weak with worry and poor health, was taken to a good hospital and given proper treatment. Slowly, her strength began to return, and little Kaine was overjoyed to be sent back to a good school. The change in the family was like a sunrise after a long, cold night. In their new home, there was light, food, and safety. Neka's mother slowly grew stronger, and the worry that had lined her face began to fade. Kaine threw himself into his studies with joy, his dream of becoming a doctor alive once more. One quiet evening, Neka sat outside, watching the sky turn golden. Somto came and sat beside her. "You are quiet," he said gently. "What is on your mind?" Neka smiled softly, though her eyes were wet. "This morning," she said, "I woke up and reached for my tray of water out of habit. Then I remembered that I do not have to carry it anymore." She let out a small, tearful laugh. "For years, that tray was my whole life. I walked so many miles under the sun with it on my head. And now, suddenly, it is over. Sometimes I still cannot believe it is real." Somto took her hand. "It is real," he said, "and you will never carry that burden again. Not the tray, not the hunger, not the fear. Those days are gone, Neka. I am here now, and I will spend the rest of my life making sure you and your family never suffer like that again." Neka looked down at the old thread still tied around her finger, the promise she had kept through all those hard years. "I never thought this little thread would lead me back to you," she whispered. "It led us both home," Somto replied softly. But Somto had not forgotten his other promise. There was still the matter of Mr. Dozy, the man who had caused all of this suffering. Somto was now a powerful and wealthy man with great resources at his command. He hired the best investigators and lawyers, and he set them on the trail of Mr. Dozy and the old fraud that had destroyed the Okwosa family. He was determined to uncover the full truth and bring it into the light. It took time, but the truth could not stay hidden forever. The investigators dug deep into the old records. They uncovered the forged documents. They traced the loans that Dozy had secretly taken. They followed the money into the hidden accounts. Piece by piece, the whole wicked scheme was laid bare. It became crystal clear that Mr. Okwosa had been completely innocent, and that Mr. Dozy had planned and carried out the entire fraud. Mr. Dozy, meanwhile, had been living comfortably off his stolen wealth, believing he had gotten away with his crime forever. He never imagined that the poor orphan his old partner had once helped would return as a powerful man seeking justice. When the investigation was complete, Somto decided to face Mr. Dozy himself, just once, before the law took its course. He arranged to meet the man, who still did not know who he truly was. Mr. Dozy arrived expecting a simple business meeting with a wealthy new investor. He walked in with a proud smile, dressed in fine clothes bought with stolen money. But the moment he sat down, Somto slid a thick file across the table. "Do you know what this is?" Somto asked quietly. Mr. Dozy opened the file. As he flipped through the pages, the color slowly drained from his face. The forged documents, the secret loans, the hidden accounts. Everything he had done to destroy Mr. Okwosa was laid out in black and white. "Who are you?" Dozy stammered, his hands beginning to shake. "My name is Somto," he replied, his voice cold and steady. "Many years ago, I was a poor orphan, and the only man who ever showed me kindness, who lifted me out of nothing, was Mr. Okwosa. The same man you betrayed, the same man you robbed and destroyed, the same man whose family you left to rot in poverty while you enjoyed his stolen wealth." Dozy's mouth opened, but no words came out. "You thought no one would ever hold you to account," Somto continued. "You thought your crime was buried forever. But the truth has a way of rising, Mr. Dozy. And today, it has risen. Please," Dozy begged, falling to his knees. "I can explain. I can pay it back. Have mercy." "You showed no mercy to a man who trusted you like a brother," Somto said. "You showed no mercy to his widow or to his children. Now you will answer to the law for everything you have done." With all the evidence gathered, Somto handed everything over to the proper authorities. Mr. Dozy was arrested and made to answer for his crimes. The fraud, the theft, and the ruin he had caused were all exposed for the world to see. He lost his freedom, his stolen wealth, and his good name. The man who had built his comfort on the destruction of a trusting friend finally faced the consequences of his wickedness. And there was more. Through the legal process, a good portion of what had been stolen was recovered. Somto made sure that everything that could be returned was returned to Neka's family. And on top of that, he cleared Mr. Okwosa's name completely so that the whole community knew the truth. The great contractor had not been a failure or a fraud. He had been an honest man, betrayed by a wicked partner. For Neka, seeing her father's name finally cleared, and seeing the man who had destroyed him brought to justice, brought a deep and healing peace. Her father could now rest in honor. The lies that had shadowed the family for years were finally swept away. In the weeks that followed, life continued to transform for Neka and her family. Her mother's health improved greatly under proper care. Kene thrived in his new school. And Neka herself began to heal, in body and in heart. The light returned to her eyes. Her gentle smile came back. She was once again the bright young woman Somto had fallen in love with so long ago. Somto even arranged for Neka to return to university, so she could finally complete the education she had been forced to abandon. It was a dream she had thought was dead forever, now brought back to life. But not everyone was happy to see Somto and Neka growing close again. There was one more storm to weather. Somto had a wealthy aunt named Mrs. Ades, who had taken it upon herself to find him a suitable wife from a rich and connected family. She had her eye on a proud and beautiful socialite named Stephanie. Stephanie came from money, moved in high society, and was very interested in marrying a billionaire like Somto. When Stephanie and the aunt learned that Somto intended to marry a former pure water seller, they were horrified and determined to stop it. Stephanie began to scheme. She tried everything to turn Somto against Neka. She whispered poison into his ear. "Somto, be reasonable," she said sweetly one day. "This girl is only after your money. She was a common street hawker. What does she know about the life you live now? She will embarrass you. People of our class do not marry pure water sellers, but Somto saw right through her. "Stephanie," he replied calmly, "let me tell you about this pure water seller, since you look down on her so much. Her father was the finest man I ever knew. He lifted me, a poor orphan, out of nothing, when people like you would not even look at me twice. This woman waited for me for years. She kept my promise ring through the worst poverty. She sold her dreams and her comfort to feed her sick mother and her little brother, and she never once turned to shame or dishonesty. She stayed kind even when the world was cruel to her." He looked Stephanie in the eye. "You speak of class, but class is not about money. It is about character. Necker has more true nobility in her little finger than some wealthy people have in their whole lives. She loved me when I had nothing. I would be a fool and a wicked man to abandon her now that I have everything." Stephanie was furious, but she did not give up easily. In one last desperate move, she decided to humiliate Necker publicly at a large social gathering that Somto and many important people attended. She believed that if she could expose Necker as a lowly, uncultured pure water girl in front of everyone, Somto would be too ashamed to marry her. At the gathering, Stephanie approached Necker in front of a crowd of wealthy guests. She wore a cruel smile. "So this is the famous pure water seller," Stephanie said loudly, so everyone could hear. "Tell me, dear, do you even know which fork to use at a table like this? Or should someone fetch you a tray of water bags to make you feel at home?" A few people laughed nervously. The whole room turned to watch. Stephanie expected Necker to be embarrassed, to stammer, to shrink away in shame. But Necker did not shrink. She stood tall and calm. She looked Stephanie in the eye and spoke with quiet dignity. "You are right," Necker said gently. "I did sell sachet water at a motor park. I walked for hours under the sun to feed my sick mother and my little brother when we had nothing. I am not ashamed of that. There is no shame in honest work. The only shame is in mocking someone for being poor, or in looking down on people because you think they are beneath you." The room went quiet. Stephanie's smile began to fade. "A person's worth is not measured by their clothes or their money," Necker continued, her voice steady and warm. "It is measured by their heart. So please, if it makes you happy to laugh at me, then laugh. I hold nothing against you. I only pray that you never have to learn the hard way how quickly life can change and how much kindness matters when it does." For a long moment, no one spoke. Then, slowly, the guests began to look at Stephanie with disgust and at Necker with deep respect. Stephanie's cruel plan had backfired completely. She had tried to expose Necker as unworthy, but instead she had only exposed the ugliness of her own heart. It was Stephanie who now stood humiliated, while Necker stood admired by all. Even Somto's aunt, Mrs. Adeyes, who had watched the whole thing, finally saw the truth. She saw that Necker was a woman of rare and genuine character, and that Stephanie's beauty hid an ugly heart. Ashamed of herself, Somto's aunt withdrew her support for Stephanie and gave the couple her full blessing instead. And Stephanie, exposed for the cruel and greedy woman she was, slunk away in disgrace, having lost the very man she had schemed so hard to trap. With every obstacle now cleared away, there was only one thing left for Somto to do. The thing he had crossed the world to do. One beautiful evening, Somto took Necker to a lovely, quiet place, much like the spot where they had once sat as young dreamers so many years before. There, under the soft evening sky, he took both of her hands in his. "Necker," he said, his voice full of emotion. "Many years ago, on a night just like this, I made you a promise. I told you I would go away, become somebody, and come back to marry you. I told you I would replace that little thread with a ring worthy of you." He smiled gently. "Life tried very hard to keep us apart. Distance, silence, tragedy, and the wickedness of an evil man. We both suffered greatly. But here we are. Against all the odds, we have found our way back to each other." He reached into his pocket and brought out a small box. Inside was a beautiful ring, shining and precious. "You kept my thread of a promise through years of poverty and pain," he said. "You never gave up on your family, and somewhere in your heart, you never fully gave up on me. There is no woman in this world with a heart like yours. So today, I keep my promise, completely and forever." he went down on one knee. "Necker, will you marry me?" Tears of pure joy streamed down Necker's face. The years of suffering seemed to melt away in that single, perfect moment. "Yes," she said, her voice breaking with happiness. "Yes, Somto. Yes." Somto slipped the beautiful ring onto her finger, right beside the old thread she had treasured for so long. Then he rose and pulled her into a warm embrace. And this time, there was no distance between them. No silence. No wicked man to tear them apart. Only two hearts that had finally come home. Some months later, their wedding took place, and it was a grand and joyful celebration. Family, friends, and well-wishers filled the hall. But more than all the riches on display, what filled the air was deep, true, and enduring love. Necker's mother, now healthy and strong, wept tears of joy as she watched her daughter marry the honorable young man her late husband had once mentored and loved like a son. And little Cain stood proudly by, beaming with happiness. As Somto and Necker stood together and exchanged their vows, everyone could see that this was a love that had survived everything. Poverty, distance, betrayal, and time. And still, in the end, it had triumphed. Somto kept every promise he had ever made. He gave Necker the beautiful life he had sworn to give her. He honored the memory of Mr. Okwosa, the man who had lifted him up by caring for his family as his own. Necker completed her education and grew into a confident, accomplished woman. Kene was given every chance to succeed, and the love that had begun between a poor orphan and a kind man's daughter became a strong and beautiful family, built on gratitude, loyalty, and faith. What a powerful and emotional story this has been, and what deep lessons it carries for all of us. First, we learn that true love does not die, even across years, distance, and hardship. Somto and Necker were separated for a long time by cruel circumstances, yet neither of them ever truly stopped loving the other. In the end, faithful love found its way home. Second, we learn that greed and betrayal may seem to win for a time, but they always lead to ruin. Mr. Dozy betrayed a trusting friend and built his comfort on another family's destruction. But in the end, his wickedness was exposed, and he lost everything. What a person sows, they will surely reap. And third, we learn never to judge a person by their present situation. Necker was found selling sachet water in the dust of a motor park, insulted and looked down upon. But she was not a lowly girl. She was a woman of gold, brought low by tragedy, not by any fault of her own. The proud passenger and the socialite saw only a pure water seller. But one faithful man saw the priceless heart within. Let us never look down on anyone who is struggling, for we do not know their story or the greatness that lies inside them. Now, tell me, what part of this story touched you the most? Do you believe Somto and Necker's love deserved this happy ending after everything they endured? And what do you think should happen to a wicked man like Mr. Dozy? I would truly love to read your thoughts, so please share them in the comments section below. Another long and emotional story will be coming your way in just a few days, so make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell, so you will be among the first to know when the new story is uploaded. And if this story touched your heart in any way, please like the video and share it with your friends and loved ones. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. I truly appreciate your time, and I will see you again in the next story.